I want to talk about the eradication of queer spaces. I don't want to sound like an alarmist because that's not the goal. The space that I'm talking about has not been eradicated, but it certainly has been eroded. Now, if you're watching this video and you're wondering what the heck is this person talking about, don't worry, I'll get into it. If you have never heard of the thing that I'm talking about, that's fine, I'll get into it. I want to talk about Sniffies and how this website has completely changed from when it originally dropped several years ago. Sniffies was a website that was dedicated towards cruising. Now, what is cruising? Cruising is a part of queer culture that has existed for decades. It's kind of fallen out of fashion as queerness has become widely acceptable and is much safer to practice in most areas of the world, but cruising was an opportunity for primarily gay men, to go out and meet in public and find ways to hook up. There was hanky code involved, there was an art of moving around a park and giving someone a look, tapping your foot at a restroom stall, doing your business and moving on. And a lot of people think, well, why would you want to hook up in public? Why wouldn't you just do that in your home? And back in the day where homosexual sex was criminalized to the point where if you were caught, you legitimately could go to jail. Inviting your gentleman caller over in the middle of the day and your snoopy neighbor next door catches a fine-looking gentleman that she's never seen before go into your home, looking very clean and pressed, and leaves your house with maybe a slightly more disheveled hairdo and a little more pep in his step, it's quite obvious to see what's going on. And back then, you could just call and suspect that your neighbors were doing something illegal, especially when it came to homosexuality. And the police would show up, and who wants to deal with all that scandal? Sometimes it was safer to hook up in public. It was safer to find a dark alleyway or a bathroom stall that wasn't used, and it still is in some parts of America. It is in some parts of the world genuinely safer to hook up in a public place where people might not traffic very often than to invite them into your personal space where you could be caught by neighbors, friends, family, maybe even your wife. Sniffies was an app that was designed to do that same thing, but cut out the middleman of needing to wander around the park for 3 hours waiting for another gay person to show up that maybe you could cruise. It gave you an opportunity to see right off the bat who was looking for what, show off the bits that you were interested in binding, and immediately meet up with someone either in your own personal space or in one of the many designated areas around your city or town. Now, this video, I can't include a lot of visuals because it is extremely NSFW, and also it would be doxing to myself as well as others who have gotten messages. But this used to be a very safe space for primarily gay men and mask-identifying people or people that are AMAB to meet up in public and hook up. It's very different from Grindr, where the idea is to meet up with other gay people or other queer people, form a connection with them, whether that be a friendship or whether that be a quick one-off situation. Grindr over the years has become bot infested. It has become ad infested. It is to the point where you can't go on and even meet someone because they're probably not real, and before you can even message them, you're gonna be hit with a series of unskippable ads that you have to wait until they're done only to send a message and get hit with another ad. And who's a loser enough to pay for Grindr Extra? I mean, I may want to hook up with people, but I am not so desperate for sex that I'm going to pay for it. And I'm certainly not so desperate for human connection that I'm willing to pay for it. I don't enjoy Scruff or Adam for Adam or any of the other primary gay apps because most people's social skills have atrophied quite a bit since the COVID lockdown, and people just don't know how to talk to each other anymore. I can't have a genuine human conversation with someone without it getting really weird or creepy, or making all of my danger buzzers go off. And Sniffies was a place that was genuinely safe to go on to meet up with others, have a good time, forget their name, and move on with my life. And for all of the puritanical people out there who are watching who are thinking, well, why do you even need to have sex with other people anyways? Human nature calls, and people like to have sex with each other. That is okay, and we don't need to police other people for wanting to live their life the way they want to. So if you're thinking, well, you don't need to have sex with people XYZ, you can kindly click out of this video and stop watching because This video was not made for you. Now what happened? Because Sniffies used to be a great place to go on to find someone to meet up with. Why is it no longer that anymore? Well, about a year ago, somewhere around 2024, a lady on TikTok started going viral because men were showing up at her doorstep, knocking on her door, soliciting sex. And she wasn't sure why they were going to her door. She wasn't gay, she wasn't looking to have sex with men, and she was embarrassed that people kept knocking on her door and it was happening all night long. I think it was something like 8 people showed up at her door knocking, looking for sex. Finally, she set up a camera and just asked one of them, "Why are you all coming here? Did someone prank me?" The person on the other side, who was unseen, reveals that he was on an app. She asks if it was Grindr, because everyone knows about Grindr now. It's become so mainstream that there are straight women on there looking for gay best friends. This guy says it's an app called Sniffies, and they were told to go to that apartment. This lady was horrified and bothered and went to the internet to ask them, "What is this? Why are people coming here? Why would someone do this to me?" Then became a viral trend where people were talking about their experiences of similar things happening to them, of gay men showing up at their door wanting sex. This was a gross mishandling of a queer space from another queer person. There is something to say about safety and wanting to screen someone before you end up hooking up with them, but to send them to your neighbor's home is not only disgusting and rude and inhumane, but it is foul, wretched human behavior. And again, a disgusting mishandling of what is supposed to be a safe space for queer people to meet up with other queer people, hook up safely, and move on. And because of this viral video, people started investigating. What is Sniffies? Where can I go to meet other gay men? There's a site that is not Grindr that is better than Grindr, where you can actually have sex. Gay people started flocking to this app. Accounts started being made en masse of people that were on there that were just curious and interested. They saw it on TikTok, but they weren't interested in cruising. They weren't interested in the intricacies of what cruising entails. They wanted to exchange photos and then block right away. Similar to what happens on Grindr, because social skills have all but atrophied and no one knows how to say, "Thank you, but I'm not interested." Or if they were looking for something very specific, like they were ordering a Chipotle bowl. That's what a lot of what was happening after this viral TikTok video. And I don't blame this woman for posting this video. She was genuinely perturbed and upset. She didn't know why this was happening to her and wanted to know if this was a common experience. I blame the person who was sending the boys to her door. Because as a queer person, they should understand that our history is kind of sordid when it comes to our queer spaces. Back in the 80s and previous, bathhouses were extremely popular among gay men. They were a safe place where gays could meet up with each other, have an intimate experience, and go about their day without being caught or outed. During the AIDS crisis, bathhouses became a large conversation. Misinformation was touted and gay bathhouses slowly started to close down as that epidemic got worse and worse and worse. And to this day, only a few bathhouses among the country still exist. COVID shut down the last few that were still in operation. And history is bound to repeat itself. A queer safe space is going to get discovered by the masses and eventually shut down. Our queer history is full of moments where we had a place that we met and we found each other, and someone ruined it for everybody else. And now Sniffies is virtually unusable. You go on and you're hit with bot accounts asking you to Google somebody's name or to click on a link in a photo. There are straight women who are looking for straight men because at this point of its virality, straight curious men know that there are gay men who are willing to have sex on Sniffies. So they go there looking to explore their sexuality, but also to get off. And straight women who don't care about having casual sex know that that's where the straight men are because they're looking for hole. And they're willing to provide the hole that those straight men actually want. And it has become a soiled place where it's no longer about queer people meeting queer people. It's a muddied space where just everyone exists participating in hookup culture. And while I think there is something to say, there's something lovely about people wanting to meet up in places and find each other, the idea of cruising was locked in for queerness, because straight people can have sex wherever they want to. They can have sex in their home and not be worried about anyone calling the police on them. They wouldn't be worried about losing their job or not being hired somewhere. If you're in the middle of America where homophobia runs rampant, and you don't believe that some homophobic store owner wouldn't hire some 20-something who's seeking a job because they're gay, you are completely delusional. It is still just as dangerous now to be queer in America as it ever has been. People are being discriminated against left and right for being queer. People's social media is being screened before they're hired because potential employers are trying to find out, is this a promiscuous person? Is this someone with loose values? And your home life should not affect work life unless you bring your personal to your work. And there are many gay men who have said that they locked up their accounts because they found that when their accounts were open, they didn't get hired places. When they locked their accounts, they were finding work. And so straight people have every opportunity to have sex in their own homes, where queer, mask-identifying people don't necessarily have that ability. And so this space getting eroded eliminates a space that was safe for queer people and creates this muddled disaster bait that is what Grindr is now. And our space has been compromised yet again because of gross mishandling of those sensitive spaces. And this is why it's important that we share our queer stories with each other. And again, for those of you who think, well, you shouldn't be having sex in public in the first place, that puritanical value set is antiquated. And it also isolates people who are different than you. Someone who has different value sets or has different interests sexually doesn't mean that they're a bad person, doesn't mean that they have incorrect or wrong values. They're just different, and you do not have to participate in the behavior that they participate in. If you don't want to have sex in public, then don't have sex in public. And the antiquated idea that people shouldn't be having sex in public is the same antiquated idea that some straight people have that gay people shouldn't get married. And this whole experience troubles me because I worry that we are going to continue to lose our safe spaces as the generations progress. We've lost a lot of our queer elders from the AIDS crisis. Most of those people are gone, and those who survived are not necessarily celebrated or uplifted in our community. We need to do a better job as queer people of uplifting our elder gays who have the stories and the experiences, who remember what life was like before we had access to get married, before we had the rights that we have now. We're pushing so hard for progressivism and for people to be included in the conversation, but we're completely cutting out a huge section of the community by creating a hostile environment towards kink culture. There is an honor code in queer culture of remembering where we came from and why certain behaviors became active and normalized among different communities. And we have to keep that in mind as we converge in these spaces. It's critical to maintaining them, to not allowing them to be eroded. And with all this being said, I'm extremely disappointed that yet another space for us as queer people that was not intended for anyone outside of our community has now been soiled in the same way that spaces like Grindr and Scruff were. Sites like Growler were intended for the bear community and were slowly imbued with twinks who were not a part of the bear community and did not understand elements of the bear community culture. Apps like Scruff were for similar reasons, and those became imbued with people who are not a part of that community either. And I encourage the adult youth of this generation, as they start to explore their sexuality, to understand the history of why we exist the way that we do, why we have created the spaces that we have. It's not just to get off, it's out of safety. And if you do not understand that, your privilege is much greater than others. And with all that being said, I hope that we can do better in the future, because we absolutely need to be better in the future.